have to use a plastic straw. It's a reusable straw.
Save the turtles.
So save the turtle.
Ah, cool. And then just clean it.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at that.
Looks expensive.
Not too expensive. That's a great question. We're
Boy,
going to estimate
California, a lot.
at least 15.
0 to 9.
Wow.
But we're doing a lot of different promotional items
Okay,
with
we're
CRA
live.
to promote downtownclearwater.com.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Clearwater Downtown Development Board to order. It's the December 11th, 2019 meeting, and we will begin by having our board members introduce themselves, beginning on my left. Would be you, right?
Raymond Casano.
Paris Morphopoulos.
Venkat Devaneni.
Caitlin Jammo.
Very good. And our ex officio members are absent, but we do have a quorum, so we will proceed. So we will begin with item 2.1. I'm looking for a motion to approve the November 6, 2019 Downtown Development Board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, we'll go to item number 3, citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda. If there are any citizens that would like to address us, you're welcome to come up to the podium. There being none, we'll proceed. We'll go to item number 4, new business. Item 4.1, adopt. We're looking for a motion to adopt the October 2019 financial statement for filing.
Yes, so what your, our current fiscal year is October 1st to September 30th. So this is the report for October. We have the ending balance seems extraordinarily large, over $647,000, and that's because it's double counting the revenues coming in from the CRA pass-through. So your actual cash in bank at the end of October was $291,276. And again, we're still working with finance to get you an up-to-date report, right? Like what would be the amount as of today versus October 31st.
So the reason for the large number is it came in and then went out after the end of the month, or?
Right.
Okay. It's too bad it doesn't stay there.
Well, again, it's this strange method of double counting that we're still going back and forth about showing that in a different way so it doesn't look like double counting.
Okay. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to adopt the October 2019 financial statement for filing.
So moved.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Very good. Is there any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. I didn't see your vote. Did you vote?
I didn't quite hear it, so it wasn't fair for me to.
Okay, so we have a majority.
Okay, with that, Sandy.
Okay, let's move on then. Okay, we're item 4.2 is to appoint a replacement member to fill a vacant seat. Amanda, could you brief us on that?
Yeah, so Mr. Thomas Wright resigned from his position on the DDB due to a change in his employment. So he's no longer employed in a downtown location, which made him ineligible to serve. And he did not notify us. His employment status changed in late October, and then we received the notification after the December meeting. So we meant like November 2nd, something like that. So according to our ordinance, we have 60 days to appoint a replacement, and the replacement member will serve until the next election in October 2020. We solicited nominations from the board, which are listed here. Festus Porbeni, who was 4th place in our last election, Edmund Rakipi, who was 5th place in the last election, Taylor Precourt, who was a write-in candidate, 6th place in the last election, and Stu Showerman, who is a current board member. We have confirmed that both Mr. Porbini and Rakipi are both interested in serving still. We did not have contact information for Taylor Precourt, the write-in candidate. And Mr. Showerman is eligible to serve again, although in conversations he would prefer to remain a private citizen, continue to partner with and work, towards the DDB goals. And then we have the 2 bios from the recent election that we attached. So tonight we're just looking for the nomination and then vote for that replacement member.
So we can start off with the nominations? Is that how we do it?
Right.
Make a motion or,
Yeah, so move for who you would like to appoint,
so,
And then we would have a vote
and then
on
you would
that?
have a vote on that.
Right.
Right, so this is your slate. If there is another person that you have thought of while sitting here, you can absolutely add them to the list, but the next step would be for someone to move to appoint, fill in the blank, that person, and then,
can I?
Yes, you can give us a motion for a name.
appointing a person to the
Yep.
seat.
So I make the motion to appoint Festus Probini. He's the next in line with, I believe 98 votes. And I know Mr. Probini myself, he's very involved in the community. He's invested in the community and very active, and I think he would be a great addition to the board.
Second.
Very good. We have a second. Okay, any further discussion? Then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Welcome, Mr. Probini.
Congratulations.
Welcome to the board.
So to that, the swearing in, not swearing at, swearing in and orientation will happen at the January meeting, so we'll be sending out those dates. Current members are supposed to come in to pass the torch, and we'll be electing officers as well.
Very good. So we'll move on to item number 5.1, and that's, the item is approved special event funding for larger events. And Lena, can you take us on that?
Yes, so I spoke to several people representing Ruth Eckerd Hall. It's definitely something that they're willing to do. There are some concerns, one of them being that the fees incurred by the city, the permitting, has increased in price. And so we're still trying to iron that out. I was hoping to have a conversation and see if we can have a moratorium on, or at the very least in downtown, since it is a challenged area, for those fees. I don't know specifically what the increase is or what exact the services are, but that was one of the concerns that they were getting. I spoke to Brianna, she was supposed to be here, maybe she's a little bit late. At first they were a little bit shocked by the request, but now I have the support, and I have the support of the residents as well as the merchants. I've been talking to a lot of people, including the residents.
Can I just back it up a
Yes.
minute? For those of us, for people that might be
Oh, you're
unaware
right.
of this,
I'm
what
sorry.
is this request and what is it we're talking about?
Okay, so in the last, I would say 2-3 years, we've been really trying to open up the funding to smaller groups, right? And we've had limited success, including the merchants, where we're tightening our belts. And over the last 2 years, it's been very evident that event planning is a huge task for us. It's not what we do. And time again, Capitol Theater has shown us that they are successful. And so after discussing this with various groups, and it was actually quite accidental, the discussion was to re-divert some of the funding from smaller entities, just redirect it to Capitol Theater and add a couple more shows. Because those shows save the merchants for many months. So instead of having, let's say, one merchant at a time coming for 2,000-3,000, and it have limited success, let's give it to the people who know what they're doing. And I think it's supported by the fact that even though we opened it up to smaller entities, they haven't come forth. You know what I mean? They haven't come forth to ask us for the funding, and that's because they simply can't. They don't have the resources, the manpower, or the tool set. So that's where the discussion was. So then I continued that discussion with Ruth Eckerd Hall to see if they were interested, and the answer is yes.
So is the discussion just to decide in general that we like that idea, or is there a specific proposal with an amount and a particular additional event in mind?
Well, you know me, I want everything now. So if we could knock it out, but I know that that's unreasonable. But at the very least, one more show, but the best would be 3 more shows. But those numbers would not be concrete until we finalize what the fees are that's associated with an event like that for the city with the new numbers that they're projecting. the fees, the new fees.
So I think then, in terms of proceeding with something, without, in the absence of actual numbers and a proposal of what they're gonna do with it, I think all we can do is have a motion in favor of adopting additional funding for that upon receipt of a detailed proposal.
That sounds
I
good.
don't think we can vote on a certain amount of money if
No.
we don't.
But can I have a clarification? How much, remember how we kind of, we calibrated the numbers and we sort of came up with a new number to open up to more smaller entities? Remember, I think it was
Well,
like-
you guys shifted, so the grant funding for Ruth Eckert Hall from the DDB is $40,000 per year.
correct.
The CRA funds $100,000 per year. So currently what they receive is $140,000 per year, which doesn't even begin to cover most of their costs
Right.
for producing Blast Fridays. They still have to do a lot of fundraising and the city co-sponsors as well for police and fire. So where you shifted, where the DDB shifted money from, you didn't take it away from any signature events. You had funds that hadn't been allocated, right? So it just said, instead of spending it on, we stopped spending money on doing, tourist print guides, right? So it shifted from some paper products, right? And there was other kind of graphic design money that wasn't being used. We didn't have as many downtown maintenance costs. So that money got reallocated to say, hey, merchants, we're willing to support you to experiment and provide a variety of events in addition to these concerts that are already occurring. So it's not signature events did not lose funding. We shifted money from other sources. So you can always say, we want to, and right now you have in this year's budget allocated even more money to special events. Right now you have,
30,000.
right, that's unallocated.
Right.
That can be allocated as soon as a project or idea comes forward.
So that's where that's where it came from. That was how it was born. I thought, well, with that 30,000, wouldn't it be great if Capitol Theater gave us 2 more events? So October, November. So it would be October, November, and then it would be Miracle on Cleveland Street, and then this whole spring. Because the dry time from May to December, those are really lean months, and we really miss those events. So that's the number that I liked. That's the number that popped out, the 30,000. If we would just, instead of working with so many partners, work with one that we work so well together and that has proven its success. So I guess the motion is, can we reserve the 30 to continue that conversation for next year's planning? Is that how we should phrase it?
You can,
I don't know, we can,
Yeah.
you can make any motion you like. I think it would be, in principle, to allocate a certain block of funding pending a detailed proposal. So they have a number to think with to propose a budget of that number.
We currently have a line item of special events, 30,000. It's already there. So
Yeah.
that's already locked in,
So
separated.
then we don't even need a motion. If we received a detailed proposal,
Yeah, we have it already.
we'd be able to, the money is already there. I guess what you're looking for is whether the board thinks that's a good idea or not.
You know what I feel like? I feel like I'm the mom leaving the kids behind. I just want to make sure everything's all done with the little tasks. So before I leave, I want it in writing that money's allocated to the Capitol Theater. That's total transparency.
Not without a specific
We need
Right,
to know
okay.
what we're spending the money on, though.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
we
like-
need a detailed proposal
Right.
to formally grant the money. But I think a motion asking for a proposal in the neighborhood of 30 grand is probably,
you can request a proposal, you can move to request a proposal.
Okay.
and that would show our support that we've requested that. So you can make such a motion if you like.
Brianna, do you want to say anything?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may just, in negotiating, because this is what you're doing, you're negotiating with Ruth Eckert Hall. You would say, this is the amount of money we have. We have a minimum of, we would like to see a minimum of 3 additional events during the summer months. We want the maximum bang for our buck, as opposed to going to RFP. You guys are our first choice. So we want, you know what I mean? So that you just don't, you're not stuck with whatever they bring back to you.
Yeah, that's for, it'd be an RFP.
Yeah.
What can you do for 30 grand for 3 events?
Yeah.
So I move that we negotiate with Ruth Eckerd Hall.
If we start I mean, I guess you've already made the motion, but if we start doing that, aren't we starting to get close to what would sound like an RFP, and then we're starting to have to,
Right.
am I like?
Brianna, you want to come up? Tell us what's on your mind.
If you would
Hi,
introduce yourself, Brianna.
Do I have to introduce myself? Brianna Hoskins, I'm the Director of Operations for Deckard Hall. Just left a meeting with Susan Crockett, our CEO, talking about this subject. Blast Fridays, as you guys know, because we give you a budget every time we ask for our own funding, cost anywhere between $26,000 and $33,000 per an event. If we do them as we've been doing them, they're costly with increased costs, particularly with labor. I mean, you go police and insurance and you're already at $5,000 right there. So it is quite expensive to do them as we have done them. We thought a connecting event, I believe when they were one block, and maybe even prior to us taking over, there was fall events, and it kind of went more throughout a greater season. So in October or November would kind of more connect them. But the problem would be with 30,000, we might not be able to do 2 of them, October, November. We might be only able to accomplish the November if we do the same footprint.
What about with your skill set, sort of a scaled back event where you don't bring in known name acts or use local talent? Maybe you kind of rethink it so that I know there's costs that are associated that don't change very much.
Right.
Police, fire, but I mean, I think this board is in a position, in partnership with CRA, to be able to really be able to offset some of the in-kind charges, police and fire, if they get it ahead of time in their budget. But like, not using necessarily headliners, scale back event, but something in the summer that we haven't thought about yet, maybe Battle of the Bands, using a local band. I mean, stuff like that, those guys play for, just the exposure. Have we thought about anything like that, to be able to do more with less?
We talked about doing, if we could do 2 more, if we could do 2 blocks, and if we could do, we'd have to really figure out what act we'd be comfortable with, putting our name on and all that. The concern with summer is mostly
The rain.
It's the heat and the rain, not only for guests, but for,
An alternative
our
would be
resources.
September, October, because September was the worst September in 3 years.
September, you've got boat races and stuff. So everything kind of had its own little kind of thing, and September's the boat races, and then there was kind of a lull in October where we had Downtown Funk, and so we thought maybe this could kind of replace that, because that really wasn't kind of taking off. And then November, you start running into, there could be a November where a Blast Friday, and then the next Saturday could be the next day would be Miracle. So
maybe October?
the gap is really October. I think that would be the most appropriate.
Well, I have an idea. Rather than us authorize or fund something or decide something right now, why don't we leave it to you could you prepare something and ask us for?
Sure. Would it be like kind of what we already do for our own funding? We just put it in with the same thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
like an October event?
Okay.
Same way you would for an application.
Okay.
That would
Alright.
simplify the whole process for everybody, I think.
Yes.
So maybe downscale it a bit, right? So that it's feasible. And, yeah, definitely. because-
When do I need this by?
No time soon. You've got lots of time.
I just wanted to make sure that the
This is
funds
for
be there.
this is for next October. So
Right. Okay.
if it happened, February or March even, that would be fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
very much.
Brianna. Thanks for coming. Does that make you happy?
Yes, as long as you promise to do it. Or I will come back.
Okay, sure. You'll be welcome to come back.
3 minutes I got.
Okay. Okay, so now we're on to DDB work plan updates. Do you have an update for us, Amanda?
Yes, so you have your work plan attached here, and it's December. Thanks for everyone's time and attention today at our, special work session on the ordinance and bylaws. So Elise, if you want to come up, I just want to make sure we have our next steps plan of action in place for moving that forward. So we made it through the ordinance, so we'll have the next draft of that for the next meeting.
We made it through the ordinance, we made it partway through the bylaws, requesting that you all review them, and any questions or comments. I'm your attorney, you're allowed to talk to me. Any questions or comments you have, get them to me so that they can be addressed in the next draft. The next step is for me to get, I'm going to wait until you have time to get those comments to me. In addition to the bylaw, the ordinance and the bylaws, we need to get policies that we've had in, but not formalized, written down and put in place. So I will be working on those. I believe once I get the next draft out to you, we will need another work session. But it can be shortened considerably if I have comments in advance. And after the work session, finally, hopefully final drafts.
So when do you think you'd have the ordinance redone?
I would like, I have all your comments on that. Okay, I can get that out before the end of the year. As far as the bylaws are concerned, I want to get your feedback. And I know we're going into the holidays. So I would assume that I can get all your feedback end of the first week of January and then start on them then.
So then probably at the beginning of February would be the next time that would be realistic for us to meet on the bylaws? That timing seem good, or?
Yeah.
Is that time? I mean, I can shorten the period for comments.
I don't think anybody's going to have much time between now and the end of the year, so that's not realistic.
Yeah.
But in January, if people work on it, in the first couple of weeks of January, that would then give you 2 weeks to put that together. Do you think the first week in February is good?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go for that then.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
That's good, and then I'll be headed to council.
Very good. So we're making progress. It's been a much steeper hill than I ever imagined. Okay,
Yes.
and CRA updates.
So for those of you, we had 4 public information sessions on Imagine Clearwater, the 30% design plans. So, you know, we're making our way to 100%, which will mean full construction documents so that we can build it. We've had really good attendance, probably around 400 people across all 4 coming in person. And then Rosemary, where are we with the survey responses? 290. So go to imagineclearwater.com. You can see a fly-through 3D model of the proposed park renovations, and there is also a survey there for you to leave your input. That survey closes on the 12th, so that's Thursday. And then there's 2 important meetings next week at the work session with City Council at 9 a.m. We'll be going over park usage and programming and what that could look like. So we know, again, how to better design the park. And then Thursday night, we'll go over all the public comments from the 30% design and next steps for the project. So that's what's going on with that. In terms of CRA activities, we're still continuing with all our marketing efforts, including the videos. We're in the midst of holiday extravaganza. So if you go to downtownclearwater.com, we still have our movie nights. Windows are being decorated, so we're really grateful to all our businesses that participated in the window decorating program. And we have the brass band and the boat parade coming on this weekend, Taste of Clearwater. Shirley will talk more about that. All sorts of events, so lots of holiday activities. And then in January, I'll be working with the CRA trustees to identify and establish the uses for different CRA-owned properties, and we will be heavily marketing those for redevelopment. So that'll be happening too.
Right. I noticed the flamingos at one end of downtown.
You did, great.
And I
Yes.
noticed the colored globes of light
Yeah,
on Osceola.
That was
So-
actually nice.
Yeah, those are part of holiday extravaganza. So, and the globes and the singing tree and Station Square, we own that, so we'll be able to deploy that throughout downtown, throughout the year, and on different places, so.
So the flamingo flash mob,
That,
that was
we
interesting.
got 3 TV stations for that, so I'm excited about that.
There's no such
That's
thing
all it
as,
took, just flamingos.
okay, so let's move on with the chairman's report. December 12th, we have the Wellness Day with the Ring. December 13th, Taste of Downtown Clearwater at Station Square Park, beginning at 5:30 in the evening. December 14th, busy day, Say No to Drugs race in the morning, Downtown Art Walk at Second Century Studios, 3:30 p.m. Nine and Numb Improv Hour at Station Square Park at 6 p.m. Holiday Movie Night, The Elf at Station Square Park at 7. Island Estates Boat Parade and Florida Brass and Bugle Corps Concert at Coachman Park, that's at 7 p.m. And that's on December the 21st. No, that's the 14th. Then on the 21st, the James Suggs Jazz Quartet at Station Square Park at 5:30. And again, holiday movie night at 7 p.m. is The Grinch in Station Square Park. Holiday pop-up market, Second Century Studios, open Wednesday to Sunday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Winter Wonderland at 201 North Fort Harrison from December 1st to the 22nd, from 6 to 9 p.m. from Wednesday to Sunday evenings. City offices will be closed on the 25th of December. Why? And again on January the 1st. And with that, we'll ask board members and ex officio members if they have any final comments.
Well, we had a nice meeting earlier and then tonight, and with everything that's going on, I feel 2020 is going to be an amazing year. I just have a really good feeling about it. Just focusing that way.
Great.
Very happy.
Let me begin by, thanks Amanda for reminding me, Taste of Clearwater is very important. All the merchants are going to be in Station Square. For $10 you get tickets and you can have your selection of variety of food from different vendors, and we have music, tablecloths. It's going to be like a real party. So I would appreciate all of you guys being there to support us. So tonight's my last day. It's bittersweet. I've decided to run for city council. I want to represent all of the city, not such a small footprint. But I'm a little bit sad leaving you guys. I was very and am very honored to have served on this board. But I do want to leave a few words, and I hope it doesn't come off wrong, but I just want to encourage you guys to, and even to the new guys coming in, to not just look at this board as a once-a-month commitment, but rather continue the conversations in the community the whole month, and then convey what you hear, convey what you see, and represent the people who elected you here. It's not just a once-a-month thing. At least it wasn't for me. And I have a special request, if you can please pick up where I left off, with the parking and the signage. Somebody champion for me and continue that job. Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Venkat.
We made a lot of progress today with the bylaws and the ordinances. Thanks to our attorney and Amanda and other board members for helping through this. And thanks, Rena, for being on the board and guiding us. And looking forward to 2020. That's all.
Echo the comments I've made thus far. Just special thanks to Lena for being our Rocky Balboa, whatever. And best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
No final comments.
David.
I just want to thank a couple people. Thomas Wright. Thomas Wright's been on the board a long time. He was back on the board when I was on the board. And he, I was really honored to serve with him. I think he did this board well. And also Lena. Lena has done a great job. She's got a passion for downtown, and I appreciate all the work you do too. And then the only other thing I wanted to say to everybody else is have a nice Christmas, have a nice holiday, and 2020 will be a great year. Looking forward to coming back.
Very good. And I would also like to echo the sentiments that have been expressed about Thomas. I've been on the board for about 9 years, and He was a real gentleman and a real asset to the board, and I was very grateful for his presence. And you've been a real champion for the downtown, so thank you for your service and good luck in your future endeavors. And happy holidays to everyone. And with that, at 6:01 in the evening, I declare this meeting adjourned.
Is this the shortest meeting we've ever had?
Short as what I've been on.
Pretty darn